With us now are Barbara Black Goldfarb and Nancy Gold. A pleasure to have you on the show, finally.
Thank you so much.
Nice to see you both
Nice
here.
to see
And
you.
we're here for several reasons, actually. And the first is to discuss the new enterprise, the new initiative you have, which is Elegant Introductions. Before we get into other topics, tell our audience about Elegant Introductions.
You want to start, Nancy?
Sure. Elegant Introductions is a high-end matchmaking business that we've started, and we're making Jewish matches that matter. I'm a psychologist, and Barbara is a community leader, and we came together to make Jewish matches. We're responding in part to the Pew study, where the assimilation rate for Jewish people in America, we found it's 58% of all marriages are between Jewish people and non-Jewish people. If you look at the Orthodox, if you take out the Orthodox community, it's 71%. And we are very committed to making Jewish matches that matter. So we have a high-end matchmaking service. It's a boutique style. We're doing personalized, individualized matches. We're vetting all of our people, that is, we do background checks and criminal history, just to make sure that someone is relationship ready and that they are who they say they are, and they're accurate and honest in who we're presenting to our potential clients. So we work for our clients, and we have a database of guests, and we work with them to make matches so that we can continue our tradition.
So whereas in this world we all suffer from the internet and the mass media and mass marketing, your initiative here is a personalized one.
It's completely personalized. In fact, we're the antithesis, although obviously we do have a website because that's the way that we can communicate with the public, because that's the way people now get their information. And we have a Facebook page, and we have our Twitter and our blog, but it's the opposite. It's highly personalized. It's what we refer to as high touch. Mm-hmm. High touch. And you know, I got married before the internet dating, so I can't say that I personally have experienced that, but I know so many people of all ages that are just miserable with the whole idea of going online, of having the person show up and they don't look the way they said they did, the picture is inaccurate, they might not even be Jewish. And so we really pride ourselves on a completely different product. It is something where we treat our client analogous to an executive search firm. So we work for them. And because of my own background in the community, having spent 25, 30 years in this Jewish community and knowing the Jewish professional and lay leaders, we're able to really comb the community to be able to get quality Jewish people that we can introduce to our clients.
It's interesting that you say this, because my son Paul has gone on some of these dating sites and found that the individuals he thought were one thing turned out to be something entirely different. So please, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts are that I've heard this quite a bit, but I have to say it was kind of always like that. In my day, and like I said, I've been married quite some time, we had what we used to call blind dates, and it was the same thing. And people would fix you up, and supposedly they knew somebody that was great for you, and they thought you would be a perfect match. And then they would come, you talk to them on the telephone, they sounded wonderful, they sounded engaging. Then all of a sudden you open up the door and you see the person and you want to shut the door in the face. You don't want to go on the date, and you're thinking, like, how in the world could these people possibly think that there was some chemistry? So it's a little better than that, because you don't have that thought about, okay, how did these people fix me up, because you found them online, but it's the same principle.
What's interesting is not only in business is there a tendency for companies to offer false information, deceptive business practices, but also in relationships, apparently.
I think people tend to misrepresent they're hopeful that they're going to meet somebody, and then down the road, when they meet the person, they say, "Oh my goodness, this isn't who I thought you were," which is very disappointing, disheartening. And so that's why when we work to vet the person to make sure that the information is accurate. And also, a lot of people we deal with have are dealing with divorce, and perhaps they're widowed. So we make sure we do coaching just to make sure that they're ready, or they might have anxiety about dating. And so as a psychologist, I work with them on that as well. We might do mock dates just to make sure the person is ready to go out on a date. And we get feedback all along to find out how the date was, and is this person exactly what you're looking for? And if not, then we'll go back to the table and figure out what it is that we need to do to get the person for you, our client.
And you know what's really interesting about that? Because Nancy brings up a great point, and of course she's so skillful at getting to the core of an individual and trying to figure out, well, what's the right match for them and what do they really need. But it's very interesting because you see people that ostensibly look so together, like good looking, smart, successful, and then when you start talking to them, a couple of them actually admit, and these are men too, not just women, these are men that say, you know what, I dated a lot of non-Jewish women, or men in this case, and I'm a little nervous when it comes to dating somebody that's Jewish, because it becomes real. And that's really when you realize that it has to come from within yourself. You might look like you may look like you got it all together, but that's something that you can't really deal with on an online dating service. You would never get to that point, but we do. We dig deeper into that individual, and we really get them to try to confront why is it that they were trying to prevent meeting, quote, the one, or at least someone that is on the road to becoming the one. And that's kind of been an interesting phenomenon for us.
What a complicated world we live in. People hovering around with false pretenses. I can't understand for a moment why anyone would like to be liked for a false image rather than be liked for himself or herself.
You know, I think people are hopeful that they'll meet me and then they'll fall in love with me, or they'll meet me and they'll see beyond the picture. But it's very important to be realistic. We all come with lists of what we'd like, and sometimes we have to update those lists. What it is that someone's looking for at 30 is very different than what someone's looking for at 60. So we work with people on self-esteem issues and being realistic and finding for them what it is that they're looking for and what we can match them with. And that's why we're very personalized and individualized. And we spend a lot of time vetting people and making sure that this is a quality introduction as opposed to quantity.
And I hear that your organization, Elegant Introductions, is extremely successful and people are very pleased with the service they get. And in this lonely world, I suppose I would say that's kind of essential.
The response has been overwhelming. We knew that there was a need. We did. I mean, we knew because just through life, there were two questions people would always ask me. A, do you know somebody to fix me up with? And two, do you know somebody to help me clean my house? Those are my two things. So I knew there was a need. But when we launched the company, we saw there was a bona fide need where it doesn't matter where we go socially, people will come over to us, men and women, and say, oh, can I give you my card? Or I know somebody. And it's definitely a service. And the fact that it's Jewish specific is very important as well. You might not be Orthodox, and the Orthodox have their own way of fixing up. The real Orthodox have a whole system of doing it, and we wouldn't pretend that that is our system. But it's very important. It's very important to the rabbis in the community. It seems to be very important in general to the people that we interact with that it is Jewish. People are looking for a Jewish relationship, whether it's to lead to marriage or to not. They're looking for somebody that is a Jewish person to share their life with, because they have those same values. Do you agree? I
agree. And also, we have heard from people, well, I'm 65, I've already had my children. And so it doesn't matter if they're Jewish, but our children are always watching. And so we're role modeling even for them. We've heard children say, well, you want me to marry someone Jewish, but you're dating someone not Jewish. So for us, it's important also to look at that value and to role model that value as well.
Well, this is certainly an interesting subject matter. How would you actually bring somebody on board? What is the process a new client would experience?
Well, initially, we would meet with the client. Barbara and I meet with everybody. We would meet with the potential client and explain our process. Everything from talking to them about what they're looking for, their relationship history, what it is what the age range is, and we would try to make sure that they were realistic in their list, as we said. At that point, we would then do a vetting. We would do a background check and a criminal history, and we would go into our database to see who it is that we had that would be appropriate match for them. At that point, we would sit down with them and tell them who it is and give some details, demographics, and education history on who the person is, see if they were interested. And if they were, then we would also, prior to that, we would vet that guest or client to make sure that their background as well has been checked out. Make sure they're not married, that they went to the school they said they did. And then if that person was okay, we would set them up on a date, and they would meet for the first time on a date, and we would get feedback after that to figure out if we honed in on what they were looking for, and if not, we would go back and start again.
Barbara, who is in your client database? How do you find your clients?
Well, our guests come from a number of different varieties of ways. First, we have our website, the jelegantIntroductions.com website. And in the website, we have an invitation for individuals that are interested in being fixed up to fill out a questionnaire online. And then from there, once Nancy and I have looked at them and sort of assessed whether or not we think they're okay, they go to the next level where we then do a telephone interview, which is very extensive. And then from that point, we go into either a face-to-face meeting with them or a Skype, depending on where they live. And then after that, only after that third cut, then we do the background checks that Nancy was talking about. So that's one way. Everybody goes through those three processes. Another way is because of our relationships in the community, they come from word of mouth, which is a lot of how we get our clients, from word of mouth. Because we have people that are the rabbis, for example, other people in the Jewish community, they know about us. So a lot of people are coming up and saying, I have my daughter, what about my sister, what about I had somebody yesterday, what about my 74-year-old mother/grandmother? And that's where they're coming from. They're coming from the community at large, in the main. Interestingly enough, we had somebody the other day that came from Facebook, that's following our Facebook page. So they're coming from everywhere.
Now, confidentiality is a great concern to many people, and I understand that you have quite a few VIP guests, people who have names, and so many people want to maintain confidentiality with regard to their interest in finding a soulmate.
So we're very exclusive and we're completely confidential. Everything that somebody comes to us, we would never say anything. And it's only until they say, yes, this is a potentially great match for me. At that point, they can meet the person and they'll decide if they want to disclose their name or phone number.
Even to the point where an individual, and this has happened, refers some person to us, we wouldn't even say to that person, thank you so much for the referral, because unless that person wanted to tell somebody, it's completely confidential.
Doing good is always a very satisfying thing, whether it is my planting a new avocado tree in my yard or, more importantly, what you're doing. People do things because it gratifies them, or should, to do good deeds in the world. And you are the immediate past president of the Jewish Federation of Greater Miami. But here you are with this endeavor right now. Tell our audience what motivates you.
Well, our tagline actually is called, and deliberately, Making Jewish Matches That Matter. And we are very passionate, both of us. We met through the Jewish community, as a matter of fact, 30 years ago. And both have maintained roles in the Jewish community. And we're very passionate about the continuity of the Jewish people. And I can't think of any more mitzvah in the world than to make a match between two lovely Jewish individuals that can then perpetuate onto the next generation. And I think that's very important work, and we take it seriously.
And how exciting and happy to bring two people together in love and have them join together to build a life together. So we're very excited and very happy about being able to do that.
Well, elegant introductions is a great idea, and just another of the important things both of you have done in your illustrious careers, if I may say that. A real pleasure having you.
Thank you so much.
We should do some more in the future,
Thank you.
do some more interviews.